evening, and I feel so lucky. I'm here with Gael Bishop.
Hi guys! I'm the lucky one.
And she has been awesome enough, as usual, to take time out of her day to come and talk to us today about mental health and addiction.
Yes.
And
hot topic.
Oh, hot topic.
Hot and heavy sometimes.
And a lot, I think we have had just in our little town, and a lot of you who are following anything on social media or hear things around town, because we do live in a small town, and so we've had 9 people die in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And very sad. And I think 6 this past weekend, believe it or not. And it is
unnecessary
and heart-wrenching, and I'm really looking forward to everything that you're going to share with our viewers this evening. And Gail, can we start with you telling us a bit about yourself and what brought you to having this conversation today about mental health?
Yes, and I want to thank Amy for doing this incredible networking with our community, by the way, of talking to different healthcare practitioners and trainers and whatnot, and just to bring us all together and to inform you guys of these sensitive topics, informative topics, the unknowns out there. So myself, there we go, see, bam! Some of you might be familiar with me, some of you, I'm not sure. I started fitness here in 1998, and I had a gym, and
so just a couple years.
Just a couple years, yeah. And
she does not look like she's been doing this.
I'm an old gal. I'm a fossil. I've been around a long time.
You
so
look fabulous.
Thank you. But I've also been out to Vancouver in that time, and so my experience in the fitness industry has kind of taken me away from here and then back and then also out there again. And when I started in the industry, I just want to say this, when I started in the industry, it was much different than what it is today. So the fact that we can sit here and do this type of a thing is pretty epic. So
it's amazing, right?
It is.
Just educate people right from
absolutely,
our own homes.
100%. And when I started off in the industry, I was in my 20s, and it was just weights and cardio, and the bodybuilding industry was really big. And it's really changed, but in that time, my own personal ups and downs, setbacks, successes had to be weaved into that journey through the fitness industry. And I couldn't take myself out and not work. And also too, I don't know if you feel this too, Amy, is that we as trainers are often portrayed, or maybe people think that we just don't suffer depression, or we don't suffer, fatigue, we don't struggle with food issues, or, we just are on all the time. What you see us do is how we are.
And this is true, because if I run into anybody when I'm grocery shopping, I get the, you're eating that?
Yeah, exactly. And we're real people. So, here I was in an industry that I loved and still love, but I'm in a much different role now. But I still had to take through that journey, the things that I went through, and apply it to this love for fitness. And what I was starting to see come together was a common denominator of real problems that I was having that my clients were having. So it was starting to kind of blend in and marbleize itself and become relevant, not just to me privately, but to me personally and professionally in the big picture.
And this is where it branched you from just being, for example, not just being a personal trainer is a fabulous role, but you expanded yourself to, you specialize in spin, and then on top of it, you're a life coach now for this.
Yes, so
and you advocate.
That's right, exactly. So listening to people try to handle things on a daily basis, juggle life. You're a mom. I'm not a mom, so there are some things that
you are. She has a beautiful dog. You can be a mom and not have children.
I do have a fur baby, yes. But there are some barriers for me in terms of communication and understanding that I have to take extra time and extra work to listen to help me be a better assistant and trainer and coach to those clients. So that's always on my radar, you know, how similar am I to this person? But when it comes to just the stresses of life and paying the bills and the pressure, Amy and I were just talking about before we went on air, to the pressure of women, and gentlemen, I respect that you may have the same, but women have tremendous amount of pressure.
Image, looking a certain way.
And it's so hard for us to see you guys suffer with that, right? And
especially now, it's everywhere.
It is
everywhere.
Mean,
you can't get away from a poster. Social media is, you know, billboards, you name it. TV. I have Netflix, but I don't even
packaging
have TV
food
everywhere.
You know, like Skinny Girl. Nothing.
I love Aerie because they're so real women.
Who are they?
Aerie Canada. Oh my gosh.
Yes. See, I need to know.
I'm gonna show her.
Okay, good.
Yes.
But you know, Bethany Frankel makes this Skinny Girl tea and Skinny Girl this and Skinny Girl that, and we get attracted to branding, and it gets imprinted over and over and over. So then when you guys come to us, we have all this damage that we have to undo for you guys, but it's buried often underneath all the other stuff that you're trying to navigate through life. And my own experience and where I'm at now, I just feel a calling to address that in this role, along with my colleagues. And I couldn't have a better lineup of that. So it's a blessing for me, and I feel it's right, and I'm super excited to have this opportunity to open the conversation. And it's okay, we can discuss it. It's safe, but it's necessary.
Yeah.
And fitness and addiction, you know, even though we might have thought before that they didn't have anything to do with each other, they're directly related on so many different levels.
Nowadays, I mean, you know, years and years ago, when you feel a certain way, as a teenager, you're developing hormones, you run into bullying and not fitting in the right group. And I know we've all been there. Everyone's been to school at some point, so we already know how those separate dynamics and can happen and how they can affect everyone. And I mean, I remember being teased in school because I didn't just stay with one circle. I liked everybody, and anyone that knows me knows I'm still like that. I just like everybody.
Thank
God. The biggest thing is understanding, just as Gail is here to discuss, is that you aren't alone. Mm-mm. You don't have to be embarrassed. Mm-hmm. You know, I wore this shirt actually for a reason, and it speaks to a couple of different things, which I'm going to have Gail touch base on. And one of them is, you're addicted to something, so just quit. Just do it.
Right.
Well, if it were that easy,
yeah, exactly.
I would, but I haven't talked to anybody because I don't want anyone to know.
Right.
I don't go out much because I'm embarrassed and I don't want anyone to know. People might judge me. I don't want anyone to know.
Don't want to fail.
That's right. You surround yourself with a group of people or someone that listens and understands.
Yeah.
And now you feel like you can do it because you have support and you're not alone and someone gets it.
Yeah. It's a huge with this example, I'm just going to mention AA here for Alcoholics Anonymous as an example.
Please.
That's a community that is global. So it's worldwide. And you can go anywhere in the world and go to a meeting. It's pretty epic. It's free. But that's a place where people can go, and what they struggle with, the person next to them can say, I understand. And if you've ever been in that position, whether it be that you like to pick your nose or work out at 4 a.m. or whatever the fuck it is, it's like, here we go, guys, I'm doing it.
We have to do you,
right?
Too, right?
We do.
Yeah. I eat pizza every Friday, peeps, and I'm going to keep on
the
pizza. There we go.
So it's, when you're around people that understand where you feel like you might have some flaws, there's nothing like sharing a scar with someone and to make you relax and feel like you belong and that you're okay and that you're just trying to get by like everybody else. And to hide that, that's where addiction can take somebody down And then the people that love you and the people that didn't know, they suffer from that as well on a different level altogether. But if we bring these discussions to the surface and make it safe, then we're going to bring a different dynamic on your end, and you're not going to hide.
That's right.
You're not going to continuously stay in that trap, in that rabbit hole, and let it get to a point where, you know, we've got such work to bring you back. We've got damage control to do in the beginning. So I think that's a little bit of what we're doing today.
That's right.
Is to try to let everybody know that whatever it is that's going on for you, fitness is in there for you to get your mental health back, for sure.
That's right. When I started in fitness, I had health problems, yes, but health problems that are an array of things. So I had stuff physically going on with my body as one, but I also had stuff with my brain. And my brain was, I suffered from depression, and I didn't want to get out of bed, and I felt alone, and I didn't talk a lot about it because, one, I didn't want to burden anyone or ruin their day or bring them down. They might not understand. Everyone was always like, Amy, you're so happy. And when I had a day where I just felt off in some way and just had to try to get through an hour, you're left with, why aren't you smiling today? And then I'd be like, oh, is it noticeable? They can see how I'm feeling. And around that time, there wasn't the same awareness because there's such a stigma around it. So I started working out, and what a difference. The dopamine, the serotonin, all of a sudden there was this fog that was being lifted, and I just felt
You've always
better.
been great about mentioning that segue, how fitness came in and shifted you. And we need to hear more of that. Yeah. We need more people to understand and hear from others that, hey, this really worked for me and it turned my life around.
So Gail, what brought you into, I'm going to start with two, but you can round them into how you want.
Absolutely.
The first one is, what brought you to mental health being a top of mind?
Right.
I know that you got into fitness because you obviously loved it. Or what brought you into the fitness aspect? Let's start there, and then we'll go through the other two.
My entrance into the fitness industry, it's
98.
And it started in 92. I started here in Huntsville in 98. I went out to Vancouver. I'll just be really brief and fast with this. I went out to Vancouver in my early 20s, like many people go out west to find themselves. But I had this image of the airline industry as a glamorous industry, right? Which, again, we go to that branding kind of topic. And I was offered, I'm going to really age myself here. I was offered a position with Canada 3000 Airlines, either in Toronto or Vancouver. So I went to Vancouver, and I absolutely hated it. It was the most vain, terrible environment for me. But the first thing I did when I moved to Vancouver in that time was I joined a gym. So I belonged to a gym called Fitness World, and I got to know one of the girls, and when my career wasn't going to go anywhere with the airline, I was going to come back to Ontario, and she said, well, we're hiring at one of our clubs downtown, because it's like a Good Life, it's a chain out there, and you've got this personality.
She has the best, most compassionate energy ever.
So it was just, I tried as a front desk person, and then I didn't love it because I'm not a front desk person. And I said to Fitness World, thank you for the opportunity, but I think I'll just carry on. And they said, we really like you. Is there something else here you would like to do? And this was right when personal training was starting to become an industry in its own.
Okay.
So Ace Fitness was the first organization to start to certify personal trainers. And I didn't have any training at all. So Fitness World paid for my certification. And it's just been this romance ever since.
Now, and again, I really appreciate you working outside of the stigma, not holding it inside, and educating people. Because Gail also, when are you hosting your next event?
June 11th. It's a Tuesday evening, and it's I'm going to tell my story. And I am a recovered alcoholic. I've been sober now for 5.5 years. So October 1st, See, when you're an alcoholic or an addict in recovery, you have 2 birthdays. So, sorry, that's my stopwatch going off. I have somebody in the closet. There's somebody in the closet. I'll be right with you. Sorry about that.
Personal training.
Keep it tight. Right? 5 more. That's right. Ignore them. Oh my God, that's so funny. It'll stop. Okay. Anyway, I forget where I was. Anyway, yeah.
This is real life.
It is. It's real life. But yes. So I've been in recovery for 5.5 years now, and I was right in the fitness industry when my addiction just caught me. And I'm going to tell my story of how it came to be. And I fought alcoholism for 2 decades. I didn't just have a little stint with it, or I didn't have just like a little kind of bad time. It went on for a long time in terms of, I think we're all familiar with the statement of a functioning alcoholic, high functioning. My family didn't even know. So I was able to perform my daily work, and as you said, portray that happy image. Meanwhile, I was absolutely in pieces on the inside, and the only thing that was helping me cope at the end of the day was that glass of wine. And and I'm not talking about to the point of oblivion or slurring or anything like that, but just enough to put the monster to bed.
To medicate.
That's right. 100%. That's exactly the word. Thank
you.
Yeah, and and then you get up and you operate again, and you develop this system of, I've got this. I can actually operate like this, like a robot almost.
And nobody knows.
And nobody knows because you've perfected it. And addiction is such a dark and how can I say, it's a clever, it's beyond clever. It's it lies to you and it tells you that you do need this because you'll feel better. It's the way as you said about the dopamine, and you get that. I mean, that feeling. Like, I don't think we'd have the $1 billion liquor industry if people didn't like the effects of alcohol in particular. And I might just say that I do focus on the alcohol aspect because I didn't have a drug addiction. So I'm very respectful of other categories of addiction. So I do try to stick with the alcohol. However, there are definite similarities in the umbrella.
Every bracket,
right? Yeah. So addiction.
You can have a food addiction.
Absolutely. You can have
an eating disorder where you're starving yourself is a form of addiction.
That's right. Yeah.
You can have addictions to different drugs, obviously.
Fitness.
Alcohol, fitness. You can overtrain and become obsessed with something.
Yeah.
Addictions in general can be anything that you can have, like an OCD problem too, where you don't want to touch certain things. You're almost like, you don't want to leave your home. You're afraid of germs and so forth.
Yeah, and that's all. That's all mental health.
That's right.
Everything. So the way that I kind of
how do you bracket them off?
Well, mental health I put up here, and then underneath you could put depression, addiction, all of the subcategories, and maybe using this as an example will be a better way to understand it. If you take fitness as an umbrella, under fitness you would have running, yoga, HIIT, weights. So it's the same thing.
Right.
So mental health has a lot of, and really I wish we'd kind of change it to mental unhealth or mental illness. We need to say that word, because I think when we say mental health, and I kind of caught myself the other day, when we say mental health, it almost keeps it kind of, I'm comfortable with that. But if we go into mental illness or mental unhealth, I don't want to go there. Well, we've got to go there. We've got to go there. We've got to. And it's just like Claire Hughes starting that with Bell Canada, the ride, and just bringing this to the table so people cannot turn away, ignore where they need help, and that physical aspect can be slid in there somehow, but your trainer has to know. And it's okay for trainers to research mental health, to research addiction. It's okay. The more informed we are, we can help these. You guys are real people.
And so are we.
Yeah,
I
exactly,
mean,
100%.
You can assume, for example, if you see Gail at the gym and you've never met her before, or myself, you'll see these people that are just smiling and happy and high energy, and you would think it's easy for her. She's got the perfect life.
Right. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's not every day on social media you have somebody posting, and again, you know, there's a time and a place for everything, but a lot of us aren't putting "I'm sad today," or I went to get in my car and just had to sit there for 20 minutes just to get up the energy to have a conversation before I went in, to get the strength today because I'm having a bad day.
That's
right. A lot of us, I mean, we have friends, we have family. It's around us everywhere we go.
Yeah, it's in every home.
And no different. We're all human, and just like a teenager, we're exposed to things at every age and different stages that you go through. You could go through a separation and feel completely lost, and you don't want to turn to anything, and the next thing you know, you never had an addiction before and you didn't think you suffered from mental health, but now you find yourself drinking every night of the week and going out with friends because you're lonely and you're trying to figure out where you're going, and that can turn into something bigger.
Exactly. And that's a point that I totally align with. That alcoholics start out as social drinkers. So it's not and hopefully through my work, because, you know, in my whole career, I really feel that this is the most important work that I've ever done and that I will ever do right now. Because people can just kind of get into a self-operation or autopilot mode, and, you know, we are groomed to do a certain schedule, be productive, on and on and on. And if we do the same thing over and over and don't really have to be mindful about it, or if we're blending in with everybody else that's also maybe falling through the cracks, it's really dangerous for us to not stop and step back and assess, you know, am I letting something maybe get away on me? Am I recognizing maybe that I'm, you know, drinking a little more than I should be? Am I feeling guilty about having more than I normally do? And I'm starting to show those signs of, you know, there could be something starting to develop here. But because we're such a cerebral culture, the pressure to say, just stop it, or just do it as in quitting, just do it, it's put upon us that that's how it is. And it's a much more complicated illness, disease, whatever you wish or wish not to call it. And it plagues people. And it plagues people in every economic bracket, every background, every age. Like it's just, it doesn't just go to one population.
So how do you, for those that are dealing with certain things, okay, no matter how you want to look at it, whether you're an alcoholic, a drug addict, whatever you're addicted to, or on a mental health topic, whatever you're feeling inside, period. How do you feel? So you mentioned AA earlier, which is a fabulous tool, I know, and you spoke very highly, but some people aren't ready for that.
Exactly.
So how can they take the steps? Maybe can you direct them in how they can maybe do that if they just want one-on-one and they're not ready to have that around the table?
Correct. And that's what,
because that's a big step sometimes for
and that's
people,
what I am here to offer. Fitness from Within Coaching for Life is that place that you can come and you can talk to me in a private setting, and there's no pressure. And I might say the whole membership, they call it with AA, is just the desire to stop drinking. So if you have a desire to make a change, and that's all you come to the table with, that's all I need. And when you go to Amy and you say, I have a desire to change, I want to change my body, I want to get healthier, I want to get leaner, and she might research into where is that stemming from. And she can work with you privately. If you have something like addiction to alcohol, or you feel that that topic for you is so sensitive that you want to talk about it to somebody, but who is going to understand? you can come to me. I already have people coming to me.
I just got goosebumps all up my arm because I just hear so often how people are afraid to go in that group setting.
Yes, yes.
And this is like
phenomenal. And I saw that actually at AA, was that, you know, there's this, again, that I don't want anyone to know. And that was part of the reason I broke my anonymity, and I was 2 years sober when I did that, was because I felt like if I can be a role model to other people, that's going to encourage other people to reach out, because I want to make myself accessible. And I want to make myself accessible to people that can say, I need to speak to you, but I need to speak to you in private. And
so do they just talk with you, or do they have the option they work out and speak with you?
They can
however it works for them?
Absolutely. And for people that aren't incorporating the fitness, they can be working with another trainer. That's totally fine. If it's just the sensitivity of that particular topic, please know that there is someone now here available that can look at you and listen to you and say, I understand. And this is where we're going to start.
And I'm so glad that you said you can work with another trainer. That's the reason I'm doing these, is you have to understand that there's so many people out there, and everyone wears a different hat. Mm-hmm. Everyone likes different food. People live different lives and have different flavors, different struggles, different successes.
Right.
I should never be insecure about finding the right fit for you. If everyone should be working for the greater good, and whatever gets the person and the individual feeling better,
right,
and any level. And the beauty of knowing that you can go to Gael and, one, exercise, and two, feel like you're talking to someone that understands, can relate to what you're going through, can offer you a private, judge-free space,
totally,
not family,
right,
not someone where you feel like
it's safe.
And the biggest thing in this is that when we admit faults, doesn't matter whether it's an addiction, it's mental health, or I burnt eggs this morning and I don't know how to cook for my kids, so she's having Pop-Tarts.
Right.
Whatever your vulnerability is or insecurity in sharing, you can come and get that off your shoulders and know it's safe, it's judgment-free, and it's private.
And it's
confidential. It's not leaving. Gael is, well, you just have to have some time with her. You'll quickly understand.
And I appreciate that. And I do want people to feel that there is a safety, there's a confidentiality, and that, you know, having been in that role before. I mean, I didn't ask for help. And I'll elaborate on in my story when I tell it, but I want people to understand, without going into too much detail of that, I didn't quit drinking once. It is something, and you know, often we've seen people try to lose weight, they relapse and they gain it back, or it, you know, we attempt a lot of things in life that we want to improve, but we can fall back. What is it? Fall down.
Fall down.
Yes.
Fall down 7 times. Stand up 8.
That's
I'll
right.
Just show you
there
nice
you
and
go.
closely. That's
right?
the tattoo, because I've fallen myself. So.
Yeah. See, and that's exactly, like, Amy will understand that when you do make that setback, that the comeback is so much better. It is so much better. And I also want to just mention too that in terms of the fitness relationship with alcoholism, I can also tell you how it's impacting your body. And I've had to learn, you know, what alcohol does to the brain and how it hijacks the body and how it's poison and all these things. I've had to research on my own just to get where I am today. So now I can actually pay that forward and say, here's some information, and this is directly related to your weight loss goals, and your trainer is aware because we network well together.
That's right.
So moving forward, you can start to, you know, feel like you've got a book-ended effort between your team, because that's what we become as a team, to try to get you to the right place and let you make the mistakes as you go along, but we got to keep you going. We can't let you stop. I don't let people stop.
And we don't give up on people.
No.
I mean,
not at all.
everyone falls sometimes.
Sure
That's
you do.
life.
That's right.
It's life.
That's right.
I will fall. I'll
Yeah.
get right back up. And next time it'll be 9.
That's exactly, right? So it's important that you understand that if you are going to take a little bit longer and that the finish line keeps getting extended, which is what happened to me, that just means you got more fight. But you have to show that you have fight. And you have to reset and recommit is what I always tell my clients. In a moment you make that decision, that second is when that new opportunity begins. It's not Monday, it's not Sunday night, it's not at noon. It's the moment you decide, right? So don't get too caught up in the weekday schedule or the clock. Make it that moment because it's your life. It's your time. And then that just becomes your new normal starts. But you have to reach out, but you probably couldn't reach out before because you didn't know. And I didn't know before that addiction actually is quite prevalent in the trainer industry until I've started to reach out and contact others on Instagram. So, like I said, it hits everybody. It's not just what we think of in terms of what we see in the movies or in our own community.
That's right.
It's much more prevalent, and there are people sometimes that are right in front of you that if you just say that you're available to help them, you could save a life.
And that's I keep getting goosebumps. She just like speaks with so much compassion and love in her words. And
likewise,
the biggest part of understanding why we all do what we do in the health field and having Gael in this particular case to help with addiction and alcoholism and so forth is understanding that you're not alone. And every time I hear, and if I get emotional, I'm sorry, but every time I hear that someone's taken a life or they're literally killing themselves with substance abuse, and a lot of the time it's lack of education and understanding what that is actually doing to your body
on the inside,
and knowing that if you're feeling this way and you're out there and you're on this call or you have a loved one that you know suffers,
yes, exactly.
You have a friend that suffers, you have a child that suffers, you have a parent that suffers.
There's help.
There's help everywhere.
Everywhere.
If you're here in town, one is I will share on the YouTube story and so forth when this is posted. How to contact Gael. I'll advertise her next speaking event where she's going to be on, you said June 11th?
June 11th at Independent upstairs.
And her contact information. You've seen it actually. You can even go just into the posts today or the stories today and go right to her page right now and know that you can send her a message. You're safe.
Yes.
She's not going to judge you.
100%.
She's here.
1,000%.
If you know someone in a different town, don't assume that she can't help because they aren't here. With today's technology, Gael now has the ability to help you. I mean, there's conference calls, there's phone calls, there's events.
They do AA meetings online. You can do if you know that there's a place out there, and that's the beauty of our social media now. If you can focus on the positive aspects of how social media, if we use it to our benefit, and if it's to unite people, to bring people in an inclusive way that they can actually feel like they matter, they're not lost, they're not being kind of put into the shuffle and forgotten, and that they're left out there to navigate on life by themselves, because that's a bit harsh. And you know, for us to just kind of tell people to take it in the chin and buck up, and there are a lot of curveballs that get thrown that completely send you into a tailspin that, if you don't have the right coping mechanisms, can be a consequence to your health that can either be non-reversible or it could be life-ending, and that's what we're trying to prevent.
And that's a beautiful thing. I mean, as Gail just said, life can throw anything at you at any time. You could wake up and have a great morning, and one thing happens and you've had the worst day ever. Your truck can break down on the way to work, or your car. You could get a weird call or a call that your kid's sick, and you need to now figure out how you're going to leave work without upsetting your boss. You got to take time off. You've got to figure out how to get them home. Now you might need to be home tomorrow. And then you've got to juggle everything else in life, whether you're a single parent, married, whatever your story be. Life has...
It happens. It doesn't stop. The world does not stop because you stopped or you said, I need 5 more minutes. The world keeps fucking going, and sometimes
yes, it fucking does.
Yes, and sometimes it's not in your favor. But for us to make it okay that we just make available to people things to deal with those situations, like cigarettes and weed. I mean, don't even get me going on that. And alcohol and Netflix binging, online gaming, all these things that can actually hold you hostage and becomes your solution to actually deal with something that you didn't control, but you didn't become unhinged because it happened, because you now know that there's a different way to deal with things. If you just pick something to medicate that's your go-to, that's a very dangerous path to get comfortable with. And that's what addiction is. That's exactly what addiction is. And it's a place that when you're in there, you feel like there's no way out. Today is the day that you know there is a way out. But you also have to do the work as well. You have to ask and you have to reach out. But now it's been extended to you. So now a little bit of responsibility has been handed to you if you're viewing this, that now you do have somewhere to go.
And if you're thinking, I can't do this. I'm not ready to do this. I'm not ready to make the decision. A lot of us aren't ready to make the decision. If you think that you have those moments where I'm just so tired of this, I wish I didn't need to have this drink, or you pick it up and you're right?
Yeah, 100%.
If there's any part of you that doesn't like the state of what is happening in your life, and you look around and think, I just wish it was like that for me, or I wish I could find my way to be that strong or that happy, or I didn't feel I need to turn to this.
Yeah, you can come to me. And there's no rules. I don't set rules. I listen, I help, I share. And the wonderful thing about what I did learn through AA is that the last step that we do, because you've heard of the 12-step programs that are out there in a lot of treatment centers, and but our last step is to be of service. So my role now to take this experience and this gift of sobriety and take it into my career and my passion that I love, because I know that there are people suffering in silence. I mean, alcohol is the most legalized psychoactive drug in the world. In the world. The world. And I will just say this too. The LCBO, and I believe it was 2016, correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody's going to get all fancy and do their research, but just our province in sales for LCBO, $3.3 billion.
It's as much as the banks make.
Right? So we asked ourselves, is there any portion of that could go towards treatment centers, to help the homeless, to help the people that are out there choosing the alcohol or the addiction, over the opportunity to maybe get some help because it's not available. And I know that there's government cuts and there's things that we can't overcome, but we as a community, as a people behind the lines, right? This is where movements begin, and this is my deal. I'm starting a movement in Huntsville, and hopefully it'll grow, because I give a shit about my community, and I know that there's people out there suffering, and if this movement can get some traction, but I need help. I need your help. I need your help. And, you know, I'm going to do more than my part if I can, but it takes, what is the saying? It takes a village
to raise a child.
Is that what this is?
No, we're missing it, but anyway, you guys
Ashley's on, maybe she'll tell us.
Right? We need help with that one. But you know what I mean? It's like we need to band together, and that's how change comes, is that there's a collective idea, and there's energy put into that, and it all gets centered, and then there's power, and then something changes, right? Things don't just change. There has to be energy and an origin for that. So I want to be the origin of this uncomfortable topic of alcoholism. And yes, it's out there, and yes, it inflicts even fitness people. And I was also an RMT at the time. So I had a lot of hats I was wearing, and I was hiding behind a lot of masks. And so try not to feel that you need to kind of sit back into the shadows and let it just kind of wear off on its own. It's not going to do that. The only way you're going to overcome something like this in the best, most holistic way is to know that you don't have something that is other people don't have.
That's right. You're not alone.
No.
You're not alone. If you're embarrassed, you don't have to be, because you're not the only one. Do you have to share it with everyone? No, you don't. Are there people out there that will respect your privacy and lend an ear? 110%.
Yeah, and you can just ask questions, right?
And you don't have to jump in. Like we're talking about, if you're not ready for AA and sitting around a group of people, that's too much. You're feeling too vulnerable. You're just trying to take a small step. And baby steps are good.
They're great.
A lot of the time,
that's how we all started to walk.
Baby steps. That's just it. We didn't run before we walked. We crawled.
That's right.
We walked. We ran. So take tiny steps in the right direction, and you'll start to notice the positives and the way you're benefiting from it. You'll start to feel better. You'll see the light. And then from there, you can continue to blossom.
That process exists. There's nothing radical about my methods, about anything. Like, I don't believe in radical weight loss. I don't believe in radical lifestyle change, radicalization, all of these sort of, just cold turkey it. In this case, not a chance. I would never direct or support somebody in that direction. When I help somebody with this,
because it's real.
Yeah, I walk beside you, and then you're gonna say, "Oh, I'm experiencing this," and I'm gonna say, "Yeah," and you might experience this next. So you're not surprised by anything. That you can actually not go as far to the fire if you don't have to, because someone said, "You know what? You're going too close." And if you are not receptive to having that kind of warning or that kind of assistance from someone that's been there, not once, but many times, snap out of that. It's okay to get advice from somebody or a warning from someone. If you keep doing that, this could happen.
Yeah.
But you can take it from me because I've been there. And if I see somebody really in a dangerous path, and they come to me for help, I will move heaven and earth to help you understand the process that it takes, and that you need to stay intact. So when you cross the finish line, you're still there, you know? And it's really important to understand that.
So on that note, and with those very strong words, I'm going to say thank you to Gael for taking the time.
Thank you, Amy.
Share
thank you, everybody,
all your knowledge.
Coming in tonight. This is awesome. And to let this topic be, the fact that you're just even let me talk about this tonight is just epic. So you're a part of this movement. You've activated it, and now we've started something in this community, because Huntsville's an awesome fucking town. Right? Right? And it's so awesome when we see small towns make big change. And you know what? I'm all about it. Let's do it.
So June 11th, stay tuned, and I'll share Gail's next meeting that she's hosting so that you can go and hear her story. And
yes, I'm going to tell you the things that you might hear yourself in my story. That's might happen.
Yes, and if that step's a little too big for you right now, again, all of Gail's information is in my page below. It's in my story, so just click on her name, go right over. You can send her a message and just say, how can we get together? How can I start? I'm just not ready to take that step yet.
I love that.
And know that you're not alone. And if anyone for some reason doesn't have Instagram or what have you, again, I will post her phone number, etc. But don't hesitate reaching out to me directly so that I can put you in direct contact with Gail, so that you can continue to have somebody that fully, truly understands what you're going through. And know that she has a private studio at home.
Yes.
She works out of a gym as well, doing spin
and
training. And then she does on top of it life coaching with Gail. So and fitness for life coaching, right?
Yes.
So we want to just ensure that you have all this information so we can get you well on your way to feeling better about you.
Don't put yourself in that jeopardy if you don't need to. And that's really the ultimate message. And we're all here together. It's such an amazing fitness team that I get to be surrounded by, colleagues that I know are embracing the dimensions that I have to offer. When those get clicked in like a puzzle and a mosaic gets put together like that, there's going to be a lot of help out there for you guys.
And I do know that whole attachment of loyalty comes up. So as Gail had said at the beginning of this call, if you're currently training with someone and you're, I don't want to rock the boat, or I don't want you don't have to. If you're happy with that person, you can maintain your relationship and fitness relationship with that person. But if you feel, and I do recommend talking to someone that has walked the walk, is ideal, because they can relate. And it's like Gail said earlier, it's like hearing yourself.
Right.
It's really important that you're not afraid, and no one's gonna hold any hard feelings for you to go and speak. And again, it's nobody's business.
That's right.
At the end of the day, what you do, when you do it, as long as the goal is to get you into better health and feeling better about yourself.
100%. 100%.
All right. Amen. Sweet sister.
Thank you so much.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Have a fabulous night.
Stay amazing.
Stay amazing.